We'll give people another minute. They're starting to come in now. Okay, I think we can get started. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for attending our PSN All Member Meeting. And today we're going to go over just some stuff that's happened some great stuff that's happened over the last year with PSN and what we're going to look towards, with the future with PSN. And then also cover projects that have been finished this year, as well as ongoing projects. We're recording this meeting, so please be aware of that. There's a lot of people at conferences and stuff that weren't able to attend, so we definitely want to get them a recording of this. So with that, I will hand it over to Kayla to get started.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bree. Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to spend some time with you going over some exciting things that have been happening with your guys' stakeholder group. So first, I'm going to go over just a quick overview of kind of where we've been over the past couple of years. As we started this group in August of 2021 with our first kickoff meeting, just with this idea of, let's look at a statewide stakeholder group for sustainability. From that, you guys took those different committees and created the menu of options that we were able to publish with just different outlines of how this group can start tackling sustainability throughout the state. From there, we selected some projects to get started up and running, and Bree will cover those project successes later. That following April, we held a first annual PSN Leadership Symposium. We held that up in Reno, had some really great outcomes. Next, we created the PSN logo, really giving this group some autonomy, some able to have, really your own logo, so what this group is. Then we created that PSN branded template, so that way, anytime you guys produce any literature, anything of that sort, it looks very professional, it looks formal, and it's something that this group can be proud of to publish the different works that you guys are putting together. This past May, we held our second annual PSN Leadership Symposium. We were able to hold that one at the Thunderbird up in Lake Tahoe. And just in the next couple slides, I'll have some pictures here for you guys. So I wanted to remind everyone of what the mission statement for the stakeholder group is. And our mission is to change the way that Nevada thinks about sustainability for our future generations by identifying and promoting opportunities to advance and expand sustainability efforts statewide. I think this is a really powerful statement to really show why this group is here together. This is a group of several organizations statewide that can really help support each other and build sustainability throughout the state. So we're very glad that you guys are here today, and we're excited to see where this next year brings us. So here's a couple of pictures from our leadership summit. It was an absolutely gorgeous day up in Lake Tahoe. The remainder of most of my presentation here is going to be talking about that day, what all the different leaders we're able to discuss and really see what the path forward for this group entails. So we included the leadership team that is composed of the each committee's chair and co-chair, as well as project leads, anyone working in that leadership role. So we had about 18 to 20 people that day, and we were able to cover a lot over about the 7 hours that we were there that day. So one of the first things that we did at that summit was we conducted a SWOT analysis. And so a SWOT analysis stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You can do a SWOT analysis within any organization, large, small, and public, private, but this really is able to identify different parts of the organization or project that are working well and other areas that need the strength in both internal and external. So I'll dive a little bit more into this analysis. So we're going to start here with strengths, and that's looking at what does this group do well and what assets do we have. So we were able to do a pretty much a couple-hour workshop with all the leaders, and I picked out the I'd say the most agreed upon point for each of these categories. So this is just one of several of these different examples that we sought after. So for the strengths, we said that PSN has a very diverse and value-oriented members, right? We have members across the entire state. We're looking at how we can build and increase that. But as a whole, everyone who's working with the stakeholder group is very dedicated to sustainability and wants to see sustainability succeed through in the state. So that's something that we really want to celebrate and continue to strengthen as the stakeholder group continues to expand. Some of the weaknesses that we identified, it's what can we be doing better? What causes us problems, and what are complaints that we received? Not every organization is perfect, and there are weaknesses, and those are ones that we certainly want to address. So the two biggest things that we looked at that need to improve are improving communication and the overall structure of PSN. We'll be talking a little bit on how we're going to address these weaknesses shortly. We're looking at how we can improve communication from both the end up side, from the chair and co-chair side, the project leader side, all the way down to the members. There's several different technologies on how we can communicate, and we kind of use a lot at once. And so we look at how can we tailor those down and make it a little bit more streamlined. And then the overall structure is how the group is going to progress into a nonprofit status organization. And again, I'll touch on that here in a couple slides. Next, we're going to talk about opportunities. So what are opportunities more of an external to the organization here? Kind of like a trend that where can we really start latching onto? Where can this group go? And so the leaders decided that, PSN can really improve the recruitment and retention of members, including, improving rural and Southern Nevada participation. So this is something that the more members that we can get to be a part of this organization, there's a lot more lessons learned. There's a lot more input on how to drive sustainability throughout the state. This is primarily a stakeholder group for organization representation. And so we're learning, every day, every week about new sustainability efforts throughout the state. How can we really build up these different opportunities and ensure that all of the different members and even the general public throughout the state are receiving a very similar, if not the same message about sustainability in Nevada. The last part that we talked about were threats. And these are, again, the external influences of what can block our progress that's out of our control, such as how are funding limitations affecting projects. So the biggest thing is PSN needs to better navigate political swings. We held this leadership summit back in May, and I think we were feeling a lot of political swings at that time, but it is true. Whereas new governors come in, we had a large change here at end up within our leadership structure here, and there's some things that are outside of our control. And so we really want the PSN stakeholder network here to be a little bit stronger to navigate these political swings that are outside of our control sometime. Even the governor has a big influence on what he signs, what he doesn't sign, what he participates in. That really does affect this group. And so how can we better strengthen the organization here to better navigate those? All right, so moving on. The next thing that we also looked at is we had a PSN mission statement, and kind of the next step was now to develop a vision statement. So again, we did a couple-hour exercise looking at a vision statement is really your sunset. What if PSN were completely successful in every single way possible? What would the outcome of that be? Where a mission statement is more of a step-by-step, how are we going to achieve our vision statement? So the PSN leadership came up with the following vision statement is for accessible, environmental, economic, and social sustainability for and by all Nevadans. Again, this is something that, at the end of the day, this is something that we all want for Nevadans. How can we ensure that PSN gets us to this route? All right, so next. So we noticed one of the weaknesses for the SWOT analysis was the structure of PSN. For the past 2 years, Bree, Allie, and I have been working on the structure of this group, providing a lot of support for committees. And we committed at the very beginning of this back in August 2021 that, we are here to help this stakeholder group succeed. However, the long-term idea of this has become a organization on its own as a nonprofit to be able to take in its own funding, to be more member and organization driven nonprofit instead of solely controlled, lack of a better term, by a governmental agency. We're here to help support. That's why we've been trying to stay more of that neutral side here at ENDA. But now I think the PSN is, you guys are really ready to start classifying as a nonprofit, be a little bit more autonomous. And so that way we can get all governmental agencies to come in and really help drive that group. So the leaders decided to register the PSN as a 501c6 versus we also discussed about 501c3s. And the biggest difference here as a 501c3 is primarily geared towards education. And a C6 is more, it's a lot of people know them as like different chambers of commerce. And so I'm not gonna lie, there were some concerns on, typically 501c6s can be very business driven, or the more you pay, the more you get to play. And so we're counteracting that by really ensuring that we're creating strong bylaws to say that we want all organizations, whether if they have a financial contribution, non-financial contribution, to be able to have an equal say. Just if you pay more money does not mean that you're going to get additional benefits, additional votes. So we're going to be doing that by creating, again, those strong bylaws and membership benefit packages in different tiers that you guys, does not matter where you stand in the PSN, will have the ability to comment on. Again, this is an organization and mission driven stakeholder group, not a business driven. And so we also here at ENDA, we do belong to a part of a couple of 501c6s that function in the way that I'm describing, where it's not just, one business is able to really dominate the entire nonprofit. So we've had a lot of back and forth discussions over the past 3 months. I think we all agree that this is a very strong next step to get this nonprofit status so the group can start collecting and accepting funding. And then additionally, once we get that figured out, then if the nonprofit would like, you can add on a 501c3 wing onto that C6. So you can get more of that education. And again, we have a lot of members here who have strengths looking at those different classifications. So I just want to give you an update on where we're going forward with that. Alexia Sober is going to be reaching out to different members, saying about collecting funds to register for the 501c6 classification, because I was told here at EndUp that we're not allowed to fund that directly out of our budget. So we're being creative on how we can get, I believe it's about $1,200 give or take to register for that IRS classification. So if you guys have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. We'll be having more updates as this process moves along, including those bylaws and membership packets and tiers and kind of what we're looking at there. Again, we're looking at both financial and non-financial contributions. I do want to emphasize that non-financial, it's not going to be a financially driven nonprofit. Okay, so lastly, I want to talk about some different funding opportunities that have been making their way down the pipeline. So the first one is the Swiffer grant from EPA, and that stands for the Solid Waste Infrastructure for Recycling grant. This was a non-competitive EPA grant that they gave out to all 50 states and territories for recycling and sustainability efforts. So here at EndUp, we were awarded just over $500,000. And we were able to reach out to you guys as PSN and say, what would you like to see? What's going to make a difference with this funding to our state? The biggest limitation with this funding is we as a state, we have to do studies. We can't fund projects, which is a real bummer to me. But, I think this is able to get us some good solid studies and data so we know how to move projects forward when we do have funding available for that. So out of that just over $500,000 grant, we're going to do a hub and spoke feasibility study for the entire state. And we have a lot of counties who are really, really excited on how we can get recycling out to more rural counties. We're also going to be looking at a composting economic impact study for state agencies and seeing what it really takes for a composting feasibility for Nevada. We're looking at a rural landfill training program to be able to get training out to our rural landfills, kind of really hand in hand with the hub and spoke feasibility study. So the people running our landfills, they're the ones managing our materials. And so if we're able to provide them some more trainings or seeing if they're interested in getting some of these projects up and running at their landfill, what might that take so they can then offer that to their residents. Next, we're looking at some internal NDEP and PSN training opportunities. That's very broad, honestly. So if you guys see any trainings that you would like to see offered by the state, they do have to remain around recycling or material diversion. So just keep that in mind. But that's something we're looking at saying, if can we provide some training opportunities for you guys as PSN members, and some, again, internal staff training for some of our new staff coming into our bureau. The last project that you guys decided to do with this funding was a roadmap to a circular economy. And this is tag teaming off of the circular economy project team, seeing how we can further circular economy in Nevada and start laying out that road work. For those of you guys who are unfamiliar with circular economy, it's a very broad topic. And so really coming down and seeing what does circular economy mean for Nevada and the different materials moving throughout. We may work that in with a couple other projects that we are working on. Secondarily, I don't have this on this slide, but we're using some of our internal NDEP budget for a statewide waste characterization study. So we're going to be coming out with a request for information here probably in the next couple weeks to start that procurement process. We've allocated $300,000 our own budget for that waste characterization study. So that paired with, a lot of these, the hub and spoke, the composting, other trainings in circular economy, I think this is give really you guys as a group the strong data and feasibilities that you guys need to see how can we get sustainability projects into the state. Lastly, the REAL grant, the Recycling Education and Outreach Grant. This is something that the Ed and Outreach team put together and applied to back in February to EPA, and we're still waiting on a response. It's pins and needles every single day. We're really excited, but we're still waiting. I spoke to one of my EPA contacts, so I'll give or take 4 or 5 weeks ago, and she said they're probably 6 weeks out. So I think we're close here. We're halfway through October. I'm really hoping we hear by Nevada Day at the end of the month. So as soon as we get any word, we'll send out a blast email to the entire group one way or another, and just to see how the education is going to be moving forward. So that's an exciting grant. Still waiting on that one. Last grant I want to quickly talk about is our internal NDEP recycling grant. We decided to reopen that grant to provide further funding. It's up to $50,000, basically for recycling and sustainability projects throughout the state. The first time we ran that grant, we did decide to exclude Clark and Washoe County because we really heard from a lot of rural areas that they need funding. However, we didn't receive enough grant awards to allot the entire 50,000 out. And so we decided to reopen the grant and not exclude Clark and Washoe. And that grant closes November 17th. So I'll be including that link and information out with the email after today's presentation. And Bree, I now think I can turn it over to you.
Awesome. Okay, I'll share my screen. Let's see. Can you guys see the notes?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go over projects that we've completed and then projects that are still either ongoing or current. So one of the big things that came out this year was the organics diversion team published their document called Implementing Large-Scale Composting Programs in Nevada, a Guide for Decision Makers. And the team lead was Cody. And this is, you can find the document on our PSN page, and it's underneath PSN Documents and Resources. And this is the template that Kayla was talking about that we'll be able to use for any documents we publish. But this document in particular is geared towards the decision makers at city level, county level, and state level, and provides an overview of how larger scale composting programs can emerge and grow within Nevada, and some barriers that we need to consider if we're going to implement them and how to overcome them. So that's a really good success. Another great thing we did was Earth Day 2023 at the Springs Preserve in Las Vegas. PSN, we have a branded tent for PSN, and we have branded swag that we gave out. And with the Combs Brothers Las Vegas Livestock, we hosted a little booth, and they shared they had a little exhibit showcasing how they use food scraps to feed the pigs. And then right next to them, we had the NDEP tent. And then also Republic Services had a tent near us. So going forward, we want, PSN, the education outreach side of PSN is going to look at other events that make sense for PSN to attend. And, with the partners of our group, can we get a bunch of tents together and have a similar theme and educate the public? And then also the education and outreach team, as Kayla mentioned, applied for the Rio grant. We applied for the $2 million to complete a statewide social marketing campaign to reduce contamination and improve recycling knowledge throughout the state. And like Kayla mentioned, we're still waiting to hear back. And then for current projects, the circular economy team led by Aster, she has been phenomenal at interviewing different stakeholders and figuring out how businesses, the government, and nonprofits play a role in circular economy practices at the organizational level and then at the community and state level. So the first phase was them doing that preliminary exploration of what's actually going on in Nevada right now. So they're working on that final draft. And once that final draft is done on their end, we'll share it with the whole PSN for comments. And then the team will also be providing feedback and input for the Swiffer funding for that circular economy roadmap. And if anybody is interested in attending and you don't have the invite for November 7th, you can email me and I can get you on that meeting. But we have one of our interns who has a construction background. He's going to be presenting on some ideas on where we can take this funding based off of the criteria that EPA has given us. So we'd love your input if you guys are interested in anything related circular economy, built environment. So that's what that team's doing. For the source reduction group, that's led by Lakshmi. She and her group conducted pilot projects at 2 events. One was the Riverside Market and Farmers Market, and the other one, I believe, they did stuff at was it Reno? Something up in Reno Day. Kayla, do you know the event? I'm blanking.
Is it Earth Day?
Maybe it was Earth Day.
I think so.
So what they did is they collected data on different ways that they've reduced or diverted waste. And like, where did they send it? How much did they send to composting? How much went to recycling? So they had all that data. And they also used information about how they gathered volunteers, what were some roadblocks, lessons learned, and they're using that information to put together, excuse me, put together a short guide, Nevada Low Waste Guide for special events. And the main target audience is event organizers. And again, they're finishing that up, and we'll also send the draft out to PSN for comments once that team is done with the final draft. PSN climate team is led by Brian, and they've been discussing a variety of topics related to the climate, so like electrification, solar power, solar and electrification waste, funding and policy options for those topics, the possibility of starting a monthly climate forum. Brian, is there anything you'd like to add, or because I know your group is still um, growing and turning over ideas? Oh, you're muted.
No, I don't have anything to add. Thank you, Bree.
Okay, thanks, Brian. Um, let's see. And then from the Policy and Funding Committee, Linda Miller has been working with Allie from NDEP, looking at the different sustainability programs and policies that are going on throughout Nevada, as well as a few nearby California communities that are on Lake Tahoe. They interviewed a bunch of sustainability managers or anybody in a similar role, and looking at, like I said, policies, new laws, what their programs are doing, and then they developed a survey and surveyed the 17 counties and 2 cities. They got a 37% response rate, and basically the survey asked, "Does your county or city have a sustainability program in place?" If they answered yes, they were asked a certain set of questions. If they answered no, they had, I think, 3 questions asking about, barriers, interests, and they're working on finishing up, summarizing the data, and that will be something we'll get out to the PSN group as well once that's finished. And then finally, the brand guide is being developed by the Education and Outreach Committee. Um, for those that you don't know, a brand guide is a communication and marketing tool so that any type of, I guess, communication sent out will be standardized and have a specific tone, just so it sounds like it's coming from a single voice. So the brand guide will talk about um, I guess the personality of the brand, what we want PSN to sound like versus not. Like, we don't want to be doomsday sayers and focus on fear. Rather, we want to be more optimistic. So that's we're like halfway through developing that. So it'll be a few months before we have that together, but that would be great for putting together pamphlets to hand out at events. If we do, the 501c3 c6, and we have a Facebook page or any kind of online presence, we can use the brand guide to standardize all of that. So yep, that's coming along. Anybody have any additional input to any of these projects, questions, or questions about anything Kayla talked about earlier? Allie?
I just more or less wanted to let people know that, in case you haven't heard already, that I'll be leaving NDEP. So I wasn't quite sure when the right time would be, but since no one else has raised their hand, I just wanted to let you guys know that next Tuesday will be my last day here. But Kayla and Bree will be receiving my new email for waste management. And once they have that contact, if you guys are looking to get a hold of me in any way, please reach out to them and they can give you my new contact information. But I won't be going far. I'll still be staying in the community. So I hope to cross paths and see you all very soon.
Yeah, we're very sorry to, sad to see Allie go. If you guys know someone who would be a good replacement for her, or if you yourself would like to take on the ed and outreach position, please feel free to contact me and let me know, and I can work you guys through that process as well. So we'll be opening up recruitment to fill her soon.
Well, if nobody else has any questions or comments, we can wrap this up early. And like always, if you have questions about anything or comments, you can email Kayla and myself, and we'll definitely get back to you and get you what you need. All right, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.